Harvard scientist and professor Avi Loeb may be changing his tune about UFO whistleblower David Grusch. Merry Christmas, vetters. Hope you all are enjoying the day. This is Patrick. Welcome to the show. All right, let's jump in. If you haven't already, hit that like button. That really helps us out a lot. It's Christmas. That'd be a great gift. And, of course, comment down below what you think of Avi Loeb and this new transformation. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, y'all. We hit our mark of 3,000, and now we're next goal. I don't know. What, 4,000, 5,000? I don't know, y'all. Let's hit it, vetters. And all the new subscribers out there, thank y'all for joining the team. Let's do this. All right, I'm going to take you through a little journey here and start with the most recent clip of Avi Loeb, and then kind of work our way backwards. I got an article, also an interview, a clip from an interview I did with Avi Loeb in 2023. If you don't know who Avi Loeb is, I don't know, you may not. He was famous for identifying Oumuamua. It was an interstellar object as potentially being extraterrestrial because of its unusual flight path. He then also went out to Papua New Guinea over the summer and found some sphericals and all this that may be also, extraterrestrial. He started the Galileo project, right, that he's got going that's involving everybody. So, he's in the field, right? And he's made some comments about David Grusch. Not too kind, really, not too on his side, right? Very, very skeptical, let's just say. I guess that's a better word. But recently, check out this clip. And then again, I'm going to work my way backwards here. All right, so let's listen to this clip real quick.
Have an event like the one happened a few days ago when I had a group of people from Washington, D.C., in my home for a visit to discuss some other physics project. And one of them was a high-level official, former official in Lockheed Martin. And I just wanted to clear my understanding. And I asked him, well, there is this testimony about potentially corporations or, outside entities that are outside government that have possession of materials of interest in terms of extraterrestrial, spacecraft. And I expected him to say, no, that's complete nonsense. Let's move on to another topic. But instead, he said, it may not be wrong. And so, I hear both views. People tell me that they have heard, that they know something is going on, but they don't show the evidence. And at the same time, when I try to get more information about what's known, I never get very far. And
so that's interesting. All right, so that was he was on the Rising the Hill. Okay, December 22nd. That tweet was put out. I'm not sure if it was that day or the day before, but that he was on the show. But he was also on Chris Cuomo's show, just a few days before that. And listen to what he says here.
The fact that the universe expands.
Hang on, let me start.
So I would believe the government may have some very intriguing information. Last Friday, just a few days ago, I had a long conversation, more than an hour, with David Grusch, who provided a testimony under oath to the U.S. House of Representatives in summer 2023. And I spoke with him about how scientists could get engaged with the kind of evidence. He basically clarified to me that there are no high-profile scientists engaged right now. And I would love to know more about what the government has. And, I'm willing to go through any hoops that require access to those materials, to that evidence.
Well, we know they can't have nothing because they have programs, Avi, where they work between the detection and the retrieval, where they use special operators and others. So
right.
If they have the system set up for a process, that's because they use the process. And if they're going out and retrieving things, then they must have things that they have decided, this comes from this government organization, this comes from this contractor, this comes from another country, this is stuff that we don't know and we have to reverse engineer. They have to have these things.
Yeah, but anything that comes from outside the solar system should not be classified and hidden from view of scientists, because it's like hiding information about the universe. You know, the fact that the universe expands, that it has a certain age. This is information that it should be shared by all humans, the composition of the universe. So if we have a partner outside the solar system, it's not the role of government to keep the information away from us. And as a scientist, I'm happy to help them figure it out. The government has a day job, which is national security. That's not their day job. That's my day job. I'll be happy to help them with anything that was not produced by an adversarial country and that came from outside of this earth. So that's my basic point. And, I realized the sky is not classified, the oceans are not classified. So I decided, to go ahead and collect evidence myself. But this could save me decades. Life is short. I can work on it, all my life. But if the government already has that data, I'm here to serve and help them figure it out and, understand what it means.
And that's, he makes a really good point there at the end that it could save him decades, right? Like, that's a great point. Because think about that. Like, we're about to jump in this article here real quick. But think about that. Like, wouldn't that, like, 100% save scientists, humanity, right? It's not just humanity. Or, excuse me, it's not just Dr. Loeb. Like, it's humanity. It would save all of us decades, maybe centuries, right? Like, there's so many fields of study that could benefit from this knowledge, right? And it's handicapping us as a society, right? What if it could bring us more peace and love, right? And bring us together more. I think that's, the focus is always on the negative effects of what would it do to society. But what I don't hear is both being weighed. What are the positive benefits that could potentially happen with society? What are the negative, and weigh them? But because you always just hear about what the negative effects, that's why we're not telling you. Well, what about the positive effects? Maybe they outweigh the negative. And who's to say that any of that should be weighed? Again, we have a right to know, period, no matter the consequences of what it does to society. That's humanity's flipping a coin. That's how humanity should survive. Anytime any group of people tries to take control of humanity, right, other humans, that's not good. Freedom is messy, and that's the way we like it. It's just how it is, because you can't rely on any narrative or group of people to control things, right? You've got to have freedom, no matter how messy it is, right? It's like freedom of speech, right, where they say, if Noam Chomsky famously said, like, if you can't protect the worst speech, right, then you don't believe in free speech. Meaning, right, like, if you can't stick up for, you don't have to believe in it. That's not, freedom of speech isn't about freedom of agreeing or believing. It's about everyone's allowed to say their opinions, whether you agree with it or not. That's not the point of freedom of speech, right? And that's it should be freedom of disclosure. It's the same thing. It's the exact same thing. Right? We deserve to know no matter the consequences. It's just how it goes. Right? So anyway, David Grusch has come a long way, or excuse me, Avi Loeb has kind of come a long way, right? You hear him talking about asking the Lockheed official, right? Because he's talked to David Grusch and he's getting more details, and he's like, wait a second. Now this former Lockheed official tells him, may not be wrong, right? Because everything is based on David Grusch's stuff. But remember when Jesse Michaels did that interview with David Grusch and that came out? This is what Avi Loeb said about it. There was a Washington Post article about it. And this is where Avi Loeb was about David Grusch. He says, so this David Grusch guy is basing his entire claim on conversations that he had, not actual evidence, said Avi Loeb, a theoretical astrophysicist at Harvard University, in a phone interview. Loeb says he watched half the documentary. He saw a narrative, not any actual disclosure. So I will say quickly that Jesse Michaels did respond to Avi Loeb in a Theories of Everything podcast. And he was just kind of disappointed that, one, he didn't watch the full documentary. And two, Jesse Michaels had interviewed Avi Loeb on his channel. So there's a Jesse Michaels Avi Loeb interview as well. And he just thought, yeah, maybe the guy should have given me, a break or watched the full thing and then had, got more details before he made a comment. And I could understand that, but look, I've interviewed Dr. Loeb. I've had one conversation with him, and he's just a straightforward, and I've watched lots of interviews with him. He's just like a straightforward guy. He's kind of robotic in that way. I think that works good for what he does. He's just the facts, ma'am, just that kind of guy, so he's just kind of blunt about things. And I don't think he means it in like a negative way. And you know what I mean? So anyway, and the rest of the quote is here: we need to look through telescopes and be collecting data through instruments, not through people talking about it on social media, said Loeb, who heads the Galileo project, which searches for science-based evidence of extraterrestrial technological artifacts. Somebody, that's just a fancy way of saying like aliens, right? Somebody interviewing another guy who tells the story. Who cares? Fans of Yes Theory might care. People who want to believe might care, as would people who just like a good, relatable story. But people like Avi Loeb, I just want to see the data, Loeb said. And Grusch is just another story. Wow. Right? So he goes from saying that to, I spoke with David Grusch, right? And an hour-long conversation. You don't think that they had that conversation? And David Grusch also has responded to Avi Loeb in a different News Nation thing before they had this conversation where he's just basically like, look, I don't want to go to jail. I can't just give this stuff out, So, and then he gets on the phone with David Grusch. Look, I'll give it to David Grusch, man. He's willing to get on the phone. He's willing to talk to people. He's willing to debate. He's willing to, just be public about it and have these conversations. He's willing to talk to anybody. He's not involved in the drama. And I can really appreciate that about him. So, I can't imagine the conversation they had. I would have loved to have heard it, to be honest with you. That would have been, man, can you imagine them doing an interview together? That would have been awesome. So, yeah, I think he's come a long way. I think he's getting it. And he's starting to get these little details, right? So let's see where Avi Loeb is in 2024 with this stuff. We're going to end this video on a clip that I did with him where I ask him about if the stuff that he finds through the Galileo project can be taken by the government, right? And his response to that. Because to me, it just shows like his relationship with the government, ET, right? The way they would retrieve things, eminent domain, like what power do they have? Because Avi, when I spoke to him, there's also a part of this interview, again, I'll put a link to it so you can watch the full thing if you want, of him talking about just where science is and how it's very closed-minded, right? And then he just wanted science to be more open-minded because he got ridiculed for saying the stuff about Oumuamua and Papua New Guinea, right? The sphericals and even Galileo project. He got ridiculed from the science community. So people were sort of saying like, hey, dude, you're kind of being a hypocrite because he was sort of ridiculing David Grusch in a way. But again, I don't think he really was. I think he just, he just wants data and facts. And that's it. It's just how the guy works. And everyone has their own approach in this topic, in this community. So I'm happy to see Avi Loeb responding to this positively, these new updates. And that's the sign of a, intellectually honest person. When they hear new information that changes, right, what they think, and, they can verify it or whatever, they are willing to accept that. They don't just double down. Right? They don't pull an Ashton Forbes. Shots fired. Sorry, it's the holidays. What am I doing? I shouldn't be saying that. But you know what I mean? Just doubling down no matter what new information comes out, triple down, quadruple. No, he's like, okay, interesting. Right? So, yeah, happy to see that. But let's watch this clip and let me know what you guys think. With the Galileo project, the question I had was, let's say you get some evidence. Is there any way that could be like the U.S. government could come in and take it from you or take control of your project? Is that a fear or could that ever happen?
No, our approach is to put our observatories in places that are not of strategic importance and therefore not a matter of national security. It's because
Okay.
the task of the Galileo project is purely scientific. We don't care about any human-made object. So if it says made in China and the US government wants to shoot it down if it's a balloon, that's, as far as I'm concerned, good news, because they reduce the number of objects in the sky,
Sure.
which will make us, explore the other objects more efficiently. So what we are doing scientifically is complementary to the national security concerns of the intelligence agencies in the US. And I don't see any overlap. In other words, what they care about is very boring for me. Okay,
Sure.
I don't care about anything made by humans. I don't care about any natural objects like birds. I would gladly offer the data to a zoologist. It's of no interest to me if we see birds. So the question is there anything else? And if there is an extraterrestrial technological gadget operating in the sky, it obviously does not care about national borders. It's not a matter of national security because it came from another place in the universe, And just like any other discovery about the universe, it should be shared. The information should be shared
Agreed.
with all humans, So
Sure.
it's not, the privilege of the president of the United States to know that most of the ordinary matter in the universe is hydrogen. This was a discovery made a century ago by a former chair of the astronomy department at Harvard that I served as chair for 9 years, almost a decade. And she was also chair, and she lived in the same town that I live in. And her name is Cecilia Payne-Kapashkin. In her PhD, which was the first one in astronomy at Radcliffe, Harvard, she discovered that the surface of the sun is made mostly of hydrogen. And just think about it, such a discovery should not have been the privilege of the president of the United States. Obviously, it should have been shared, and it was shared with all humans. Okay, and the same is true if we find a technological gadget that came from outside the solar system. It should be shared by all humans. That's the way that science is done. The data will be open, available to everyone. The only scenario that I can imagine by which the US government would want the data for themselves, and that's if we collect data on something that is human-made and they care
Top
about.
secret project or something.
Yeah, or something. But first of all, we will avoid such locations where such
Sure.
things are flying above us. And second of all, I'll be delighted to just give it to them immediately because, as I said, these things, as far as I'm concerned, are boring.
Let's say So, it's an interesting, right? I mean, it's a good point, right, that he makes, right? That's it in a nutshell. Like, that discovery just shouldn't be hidden no matter what. Right? It's that simple. The discovery just shouldn't be hidden. We need to study. We need our smartest minds on it. Right? Who is on it? If it's such a dark and mysterious and this and interdimensional and this, and why don't we have our smartest people on it? That makes zero sense. Right? It just makes zero sense to not get your smartest people to look at this, humanity's smartest people, to help us with this. It just makes zero sense. If it's such a problem, if it's national security, if you're that worried, okay, get your smartest people on it. Read them in on it. It doesn't make any sense. Pull them into a room. Explain that. But that hasn't happened. The smartest people think it's a joke. Some of them anyway, right? People are coming around, but I'm just saying. So, right, he makes that point. It's just like a discovery is made, it gets shared. It's just that simple. We're sharing it together as humanity. But then there's also that point of national security, government come in, take it, right? And he's basically saying he'd be happy to give it to them, right? So, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, just happy that Avi Loeb's coming around to this. And I just see him, freshening up to David Grusch and his allegations. And I think he probably explained to him pretty well over that phone call of why he can't share the information just yet, that evidence that he's looking for. So look, I am looking forward to 2024. We can be positive, y'all. So look, hope y'all have a good Merry Christmas with your family. I am. So thank you guys. Thank you, vetters, for all the support. Really do appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed today's video. If you haven't already, hit that like button. Of course, comment down below of what you think of Avi Loeb coming around with David Grusch. And of course, just, right, they can't hold the stuff from us, y'all. Can't keep it from us. So anyway, thank y'all again. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, guys. We put out a new video every day, 12 p.m. Central, even on the holidays, y'all. I do not miss a day, ever. So we'll see you tomorrow in the next video. Remember, every day's a gift. I'm Patrick with Vetted. Merry Christmas, y'all. Peace.